let's talk about Our Life. For those who know, great! For those who don't, Our Life is a slice of life romance optional visual novel. The short premise is that you get to grow up alongside your new next door neighbor. In this video, we'll mostly be talking about Cove Holden. The game is separated into 4 steps. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, and Step 4. Each step features 5 base moments and 5 DLC moments. More on this later. As each step is reached, you and Cove gradually get older. You start at age 8, and your age increases by 5 each step. So by the time you're at step 4, you and Cove will be 23. Backtracking to the romance optional point I made, Our Life features a feature where you can decide what kind of relationship you want to have with Cove. Crazy, right? As you know, if you've played a few romance visual novels, romance is mandatory. There's no eventual build up to the relationship, like hanging out, getting to know each other, and just having like an actual connection to the person you're pursuing before getting into a relationship. An appropriate example I can give is Amnesia Memories, where not only are you falling for dudes you've only just met, but you're an amnesiac, which makes it worse. Tangent aside, I think having visual novels that feature choosing how you and the love interest feel towards each other would be good. Which is why I mentioned in a previous video that Our Life is a great start visual novel. You should definitely check that out if you haven't. Link will be in the description, and obviously there'd be a little information thing up top. The first main love interest of Our Life, Beginnings and Always, is Cove James Holden. Yes, he has a middle name too. That's how much love and care GB Patch has for him. Honestly, they put a lot of love and care into all of their characters, but I digress. In step 1, Cove has a set personality where he's a kid dealing with his parents' divorce in his own way. Spoiler, it's not in the best way, but he's also a kid, so what do you expect? He is generally unhappy and can be rude to people at times, but it's not purposeful. He, at the time, doesn't know, but he's on the spectrum and they have their quirks. He's the neighbor you grow up alongside with and can decide whether or not you want to be romantically involved. Obviously, not as kids. Just friends or even neighbors who bump into each other much too often for your liking. If you ask me, which you clearly didn't, but I'm gonna say it anyway, you miss out on some content in the moments that you would get to see if you were friends or crushing / in love with Cove. I don't say this to discourage you from doing an entire playthrough of just being neighbors with him, just giving you a heads up if that's something you do decide to pursue. As you progress in the game, Cove's personality will shift. The two, for lack of better words, umbrella personalities are that he either becomes sporty or studious. Smaller details of his personality vary depending on choices made and such, but the best part of all that is that Cove becomes happier compared to when he first arrived. Still, doesn't mean he's completely rid of his demons from the past, but from here on, his personality can fluctuate, and he steadily gets happier with his new life as he gets older. I wanted to talk more in depth about Our Life, in this case Beginnings and Always, since Now and Forever is still being worked on as of the making of this video, and just how refreshing it is from the usual romance visual novel. As I mentioned in my starter visual novel video, there are no stakes, so to speak. There's no bad endings. There's no figuring out the right choice to advance the story. You make the story, and any choice you decide on is always the right choice. Even if you decide you want to be mean to somebody, but hey, I'm not here to judge you. I'm also not here trying to shit on the formula that's worked, because hey, Amnesia Memories is a pretty good game. I myself enjoy them a lot, but I'm just also saying that it's nice to have something like Our Life to just kick back and relax to. This is definitely me asking, some future visual novel devs to, make games similar to Our Life in terms of choosing relations and making your own story. Moments. Ah, you thought I forgot about them, didn't you? Well, you're partially right. Moments are essentially the hangouts you don't usually get in a standard romance visual novel. Getting to know the person experiencing moments together, and having lasting memories that builds familiarity and makes you feel more connected to the character. As mentioned before, there's 5 base moments and 5 optional DLC moments. Now, with most games, DLC adds on to a game and makes it good. Not always, sometimes it's just to add a route that may not even be good. But that's not the case with Art Life. It's already a great game without the DLCs. Because I remember when I first played it, I played it without the DLCs, and I was just blown away. I just wanted to keep playing it because it was just that good. And then when I learned that there were DLCs, I was like, oh hell yeah, I get to get more? It's like having a delicious, like, pasta, and then, like, it's just so good, and then adding, like, on some extra seasoning and cheese or whatever. It's like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to heaven. Speaking of the DLCs, before their release, Cove was the only love interest. With the subsequent release of the Derek DLC, followed by the Baxter DLC later on, you now have 2 additional men you can choose relations with, like you would with Cove. Note, you can only choose one of them to date if you decide you want to date any of them, and you can only choose one of the 3 to do their step 4 epilogue for. Otherwise, you can crush on all 3 at the same time, because hey, at some point we've all had more than one crush on somebody. But unlike Cove, you don't grow up with Derek and Baxter. More so Baxter, as he only makes his appearance at step 3. Derek, on the other hand, you meet him in step 2, he's there for the summer, but then in step 3 he's completely absent, obviously to make some room for Baxter, but there is an exception where at the end of step 3, you do get to make a phone call, but both boys are just as enjoyable and endearing as Cove, and both of them are actually my personal favorites in terms of romancing. So I always find myself like going back and either picking Derek to romance or picking Baxter, because I'm not saying that Cove's story is not good. I'm not saying that at all, because like I said, my first playthrough was obviously the base game. I didn't have the DLCs or anything like that yet, because even when I actually first played it, the Derek and Baxter DLCs weren't even a thing yet. So it's just, for me personally, I enjoyed their stories a bit more than Cove's. That's all it is. But, you know, I could sit here and talk about Derek and get into a whole thing about Baxter, but again, they're DLC and not readily accessible like Cove, so I will try and hold it in. So, if you've been to a few streams of mine, or even just see me post on social media, you know that I absolutely love our lives. Tangent, but I do intend to make a video about GB Patch and their games, so if that's something you'd want to see, leave a comment on this video. Getting back on track though, I wanted to share what I think about the game and what makes this game so good, which is the reason why I made this video. Especially for a game that's free! Like, yes, the DLCs do cost money, but they're not that expensive unless you're buying all of them at once. Picture here showing how much it would cost without tax. But I'm also hoping that this video will also build up some hype for the next iteration, which is Now and Forever, which will definitely takes what made Beginnings and Always so good and build upon that. But Now and Forever is another video for when the game releases in full. I do intend to do that though. But we don't have a set date for when Now and Forever will be released. I do hope it'll be by the end of next year, but again, don't know. Coding a game like this takes a long time, so I'm being very hopeful with that hope. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this makes you want to give Our Life a try if you haven't already, and if you're new to the visual novel scene. I do recommend checking out my 5-starter visual novels video for a few others to play that may be shorter and less time consuming if Our Life is too long for you. And as usual, I will see you guys in the next video, whatever it may be. Bye!